I wanted to open it to questions now, but first I wanted to do a couple other things. One was say thank you to Bob Moisan of the Glarus Group, to Marc-Andre, did Utilicase, and also Thomas Taw of BC Hydro. I think I'll start with Bob Moisan for this first question. And Manel asks, how long do we have to collect data before we can start to draw conclusions? And he wants to know if the patterns are useful from one site to another, or do you start all over again from zero?
Well, I tell you, I'm not sure I've got a crisp answer to that question. It would seem like, actually I don't have a good answer to that question. In many cases it's more a question of data conversion of what you have, or alternatively, you start from raw scratch. You've just got to start building a brick at a time. In terms of moving data from one place to the other, as long as you have some ability to adjust for environmental factors, system, weather, other conditions, then looking at different kinds of equipment performance or asset performance, you should have a basis of comparison, and that would be an incentive for one utility to another would be sharing information.
Do you want to jump in on this one, Mark?
Oh, yes. What I can add based on our experience at Utilicase dealing with the data is that basically most of analytics, it's true, need experience of some data to start predicting the futures. But most of the time, those data is already archived in terms of outage in the past, in terms of many aspects. So you can run the analytics from the day one by using the past data already in the system, in the utilities. So you don't have to implement the solution starting with analytics and says that analytics will start to pay off in 3 years from now. We can then rebuild the past and using the past data to start providing value from day one. But of course, the sooner you do it, the better your data quality is in it, the better the results of analytics going forward will help you.
Marc-Andre, while you're up, maybe you could answer this question from Michelle, who wants to know if there's software available for asset management. And of course, that's something of your business.
Yes, there's many systems of asset management available. And asset management is a very large spectrum. There's software in the maintenance aspect, the CMS, there's the maximum of those world PM and Passport. But when you go to the strategic asset management, there's very few system and methodology out there. We at Utilicase have built one, that's EPSM, that's the one you see in use at BC Hydro, and we will be pleased to help anybody that are seeking for that kind of software to help.
For Thomas Taw, Rohit asks if you're finding that you're beginning to shorten your time frames for your asset management. For instance, are you beginning to build substations with a 20-year life in mind rather than the former 60 years? And he says that he's seeing some utilities doing that because of budget cuts.
Well, it's not, what we found is not so much for building something that's shorter, but what we found in the asset management is we now tend to move into more station replacement instead of the asset replacement. When we look at the holistic view, when we start seeing that stations getting to the end of life, there's a whole bunch of them, and over the next 10 years or 15 years or so, it doesn't make sense for those stations to replace the asset one at a time, and maybe to look at it in more of the holistic view and build those stations to replace the whole thing. So that's one of the things that we found. We tend to move into that direction a lot.
I'll shoot this final question towards Marc-Andre, and it's from Alan. And he asks if this applies to less expensive equipment that is normally just run to failure, like pole-top transformers.
This is a question we add very often. In the case of run to failure, should go in the path of strategic asset management? And the answer is yes, because even if you're in the run to failure mode, basically you want to forecast that failure. Just saying that it will fail in the middle of somewhere or sometime is just not enough. So it's not based on the maintenance aspect of that asset, but doing into the analytics path is very good because it will increase your reliabilities, your revenue, reduce the work time, manage your spare parts. So basically, even if you go to run to failures, the strategic asset management can definitely help you on that topic. For the very small and cheap asset, let's say pole transformers, then you should attack it in a different way by population instead of doing, let's say, asset by asset. So a good analytics should look about one representative of that asset. Let's say we elect that pole transformers as the one and is represent the full population, and again, then derive what will happen to that population going forward. So if you have a major problems with that exact asset analytics then again says, yes, and you have 1,000 of those assets out in the grid, so now you should consider it in your budget, into your maintenance, and into replacement. So analytics in that context definitely help a lot.
Marc-Andre, thank you. To Thomas Ta and Bob Moisan, thank you as well. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon at our next Lessons from the Real World webinar.